Thank you so much. Nice to know you're there too. It's funny doing this one way. I'm so used to the conversation. But I know you're there. I feel you there. So beautiful. Welcome to Angel Update for July 16th, 2022. And just gonna check my list. I did all of my technology things here. Good. Came in from travel last night, so I want to make sure I'm have everything lined up. So the angels are here, and we'll let them speak first. Of course, we'll have time for questions, and you can type those anytime in the chat. There is a little bit of a delay, so I might pause when it's question time to make sure I see any questions that come through. This is Raphael, Angel Raphael. Good. So welcome to each of you. We have been speaking many times about what is the progress for humanity as we move into New Earth, our shorthand New Earth, for so many layers of changes that involve the changes in your physical self, the changes in your energetic being, and the changes in what's available to you as a soul in this life. So the rules have changed, right? If any of you have seen the Matrix movies, it's a little bit like going from a story where you think the rules are defined elsewhere, like gravity or the money system. It's just something you grow up in and you can't change. But once you come into your understanding of how magical you are as a being, and here we don't mean incantations, but powerfully able to move things with thought would be a clearer definition, then you understand that yes, you can fly. And literally we do mean this, so we suggest you start from the ground instead of jumping off buildings as in that movie. So be confident of your skills before you test them out from the high altitudes, please. And same with life. When you're learning how to move energy with thought, you want to know you can depend on your skills before you take large leaps. So it's not that you have to put yourself in a scenario of it's either this or nothing else, and then that's when the gift comes through. The energies can work that way, and that's up to you, of course. But we just want to let you know, because things in the world right now feel quite dramatic in many ways, hitting different layers of the human system and your personal story. So you might be a little confused and think, well, is that the new normal? Do things have to get right to the brink before I know I can fly, in metaphorically speaking? Not yes. So it's all right for those of you who like a gentler story. Just start wishing for that, for things to have a gentle up ramp or a cross ramp, whichever direction you're going. So things since we last spoke have not changed so much in the energy. There's still a little bit of clearing here from this energy of can't have, or what we described as shards of glass. So that's still present, but less and less. If you thought of a shard of glass that had been, 1 inch inside your skin, and now it's down to the little tip. If you have the overview, like you're the surgeon or the ER nurse, oh, we're almost there. There's the sense of easy breezy, just put a Band-Aid and we're done. If you have your eyes closed and you're only dealing with the layer of sensation, it hurts just as much when it's at the very tip as it did when the whole thing was in there. So it might not feel like progress to you from your sense of how is it going in life or what is going on. But we do want you to know there's been quite a lot of progress. So there's less than a month, we'd say less than a week, more realistically for most of you here, of this sense of constraint, clearing, can't have, shards of glass, To recap, for those of you, that's not literal about glass, but a sharpness to things that feel broken in your personal story, your soul's expression of life. That's what we mean by shards of glass. It doesn't feel so cozy and subtle right now for most. So at the same time, there's this tremendous momentum where this project of release, of clearing, is almost done. So if you can take heart from that, please know by the time we speak again next month, things are going to look quite different for each of you here. So when all of humanity is under a stress like this, even a positive one, it can feel like also you're rubbing up raw against your neighbors, your friends, your family, because you're not the only one who's feeling the depth of the pain pinch of this. So be compassionate or cautious, one of those C words, or have some more chocolate, choose something with a C. Don't be so serious about it. But understand it's likely to feel a little bristly, right? You've noticed there's some shootings around different places in the world. We don't mean that you have to be in danger, but that's just episodes that show what's going on is this feeling of very raw. So if someone already was a violent temperament or mentally unstable, ill, it's just when you add that raw, bristly, then the lack of control comes through. So you don't want to be like that, certainly. But more why we're telling you this is that if in your friction of interactions with other people, it feels like everything I say is wrong. What's going on with me? Or you just can't connect in the way you usually can with dear friends and so on, we'd say. Give it patience. That's where either the compassion or the chocolate comes in. Take a break from whatever it is you're trying to communicate. Or just see, that person probably doesn't really mean to be bristly at me. They're just feeling raw, like I'm feeling raw. They're also with the ER nurse getting shards of glass removed. So they don't feel so good right now, or maybe don't feel like chatting or so cozy as usually our friendship has been. So please don't use this as a measure of how are your interactions with others. If you're feeling this rawness around you, so to take this wider, for those of you who are sensitive or empathic in some degree, whatever name you call it, you might be feeling this a collective angst, unease. So if you're feeling highly anxious right now, understand the human story you're in, the way that the human functions. The brain assigns meaning or value to this feeling, let's call it anxiety for a minute, and says, I'm feeling anxiety because this thing is playing out in my life today. You might, in fact, be feeling anxiety because 20,000 of your dear relations, humankind, are feeling high anxiety, and you sense that in some way. So remember, for those of you who tend to have a bigger picture in a sensory sense, that if you are feeling heightened anxiety, it's not just yours right now. It's being amplified in the field of humankind, right? So again, perhaps be compassionate on yourself. Have some chocolate. It's the answer to everything today. We do jest about that. It's not a literal food science response to what's happening. We're just saying, comfort foods or relaxation modes can be helpful now to give yourself a break a little bit and not believe the story that is when the anxiety feels so high. You might really feel, well, there must be something here I need to fix or change. This feels intolerable. Yes, the anxiety, again, is not going to last. We're in the last week to month of this shards of glass being pulled out. It's closer to a week again. So you're in the home stretch. So don't despair. understand if you feel despair or particularly anxiety now, it's not yours or not just yours. So you don't have to take responsibility for fixing it. If this much anxiety was yours, yes, you would want to change something so the rest of your life didn't feel like this, right? But the bristle that's happening now is in large part, when you look at the collective, those of you who do not understand what's going on from a bigger picture and don't see, oh, this is a clearing, or it's a potential at least, this might be something good, or a shift in the energies, those who are ascribing blame to the anxiety for something in their life and literally taking a gun or feeling that it's intolerable and they need to react, they're in this reactive mode, that's what you're feeling. This believing the story of the anxiety on the surface level. Many people are at that level of encountering their life story right now, right? They fully believe it. So this is the part in the Matrix movies before all of the magic opens up, right? You can't blame people for not understanding how powerful their thought fields are. But it can be helpful to you to understand when the anxiety feels so unsolvable or urgent to fix, like life or death. Just take a breath and ask yourself, is it possible what I'm feeling right now is the collective need to purge this level of anxiety and the collective misinterpretation by many, not all, that this is true, this is the truth, things are really that bad right now. So, and then of course when someone acts out or a few people act out, as in the case of a shooting and so on, it just exacerbates this feeling that it's real, things are quite bad, the world has turned violent, whatever story you want to put on it. So, violence has been around since the Jaguars, since before humanity, so that's not really something new, and the levels of violence now are not new. In fact, they're a little more public, a little different the way it's playing out. But the anxiety is a layer here, which is temporal. It's a temporal clearing, meaning when you come to a time space a little farther ahead, 7 days or less from now, more or less, you're out of that pocket. So do what you can to be kind to yourself, soft to yourself in the meantime. Not perhaps go forward full guns blazing, I have to fix this story in my life, but understanding at least 90% of the volume of how you feel this anxiety or shards of glass feeling doesn't even come from your story, the pain of your story. So that could help you have a big sigh of relief. Oh, so if only 10%, even if it was real, which it's not, it's a clearing, if only 10% of this was real, oh, well, that's quite solvable. I can solve that much of an intolerable situation in my life. I've lived through much worse. So ascribing accurately where this is coming from is what we would suggest in the near term. Also to give yourself, again, the distance or the sense of it's all right. We are in the high times, and when you oscillate at such a high vibratory field, what happens is the denser pieces fall away. It's alchemy, the sense of heating things through fire, is often used as the analogy for melting or burning off the impurities in something. But we would say the same is true when you oscillate things at a high enough vibration, the denser pieces fall away. And that's what's happening now, quite literally. The denser pieces of you are falling away. It's a bit uncomfortable, but necessary to rise up, to get lighter, more subtle. And it is an extraordinary time. You will look back on this period in life and say, oh, if only I knew, if only, even though I heard it, and perhaps I sort of knew, if only I really knew what was going on, I would have been dancing in the streets, calling my neighbors over for a party, and certainly relaxing through this time. So if you can take this angelic view that Things are not just all right, even though you might feel you're just hanging on by your fingernails on the cliff. Things are not just all right, they're extraordinary. You've sprouted these big wings, and the reason why it's not a problem that you're off the cliff hanging on right now is you actually know how to fly, you just don't know it yet. So you will know that soon, very soon in your life. There are coming extraordinary examples, explorations in each of your lifetimes now where you're going to see demonstrated in your life story how this is true. So perhaps up till now it's felt subtle, energetic, maybe even just conceptual for some of you. It's going to feel like, oh, the same level of realness, of density, visceralness in the world that this clearing had is going to be the new light showing up in your life. It's not going to feel so intangible anymore. It's going to show up in huge examples of your life story. So watch for that. This is what you might call the time of miracles, quite literally, because you start to see how your thought becomes your reality. So the miracles are very specific to you. Again, this is not a value judgment about only certain people get miracles or you have to rise to a certain level to get miracles. It's really how much you're willing to notice that you're changing and affecting your life right now. Then the miracles, the way you want them, it's so specific to your own story, your own life. That's how it's going to start to play out, where you see you are the miracle maker. So, and we don't mean that, of course, there aren't other energies in the world joining with you, but you'll see you're much more of the driver than you realize. So, much of this today is repetition, we know, but we feel you need to hear it now because things are so painful in the heart space, particularly the anxiety field here is quite high. So we do want to reassure you this isn't that something has gone wrong in the plan. Those forces that would like you to be in fear, individual and collective, small collectives that would like you to be in fear, are going to take advantage of this time to paint that story in the media or somewhere else, right? So that you think, yeah, there really is a reason to have anxiety, but that's not the case from angelic view. We see for you extraordinary timing, extraordinary light, and beautiful, beautiful atmosphere of change. So this is the celebration. The celebration times really begin now, this week, this month, as you begin to see in your life how it has changed. There's been a lot riding on faith. Some of you who are subtle have been able to see the changes, and some it's just been conceptual. But this is really where the rubber hits the road on the positive end. It's been doing that on the clearing end now in terms of what you wish becoming real. Get ready for that because you're here now in that time. In that we keep referring to the story or using the analogy of Matrix movie to remind you that this is an enactment, a drama, a dance. Yes, it's very real. At the same time, you are the projector. You're not a little character caught in the story. You're the projector, shining light and color and nuance and form into the film. So you have so much more right and power and light to create your own story than you recognize. So that's the piece we'd like you to come back into focus on as well. One is just being compassionate with yourself. Much, again, what you feel is not yours in the anxiety field. Well, guess what? Next month, as people begin to share this feeling of awe and overwhelm in a positive sense, oh, I'm creating all of this, you get to share that as well. So for those of you who are sensitive or empathic, there's going to be quite an upside to feeling so much coming here soon. So we're over the crest of the mountain. There's a little more pain point here for some of you. Again, the tip of the removal of the shard of glass. but it's in progress, it's in process, and it's going extraordinarily well. From angelic viewpoint, things are going for humanity extraordinarily well. Could not be better. So this is the part, perhaps to use another medical analogy, the part where the physician comes in and you're still, leery from anesthesia and you don't know what's going on, and the physician is saying to you through this haze, it went so well, it couldn't have gone better. So we're here to tell you through this little bit of haze of what just happened, what's going on. It went extraordinarily well. It could not have gone better, and we wish for you to know that in the deepest layers of your being. So we're going to end today in a little bit with a focus on that, a meditative process around that. So we'll pause first to see if there are questions, and then let's celebrate a bit together and come into an energy that's a bit of a peace instead of this energy of reckoning with the anxiety times. So we'll pause for questions here. This is Adria. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. Thanks to the comment from Sylvia. That's such a good reminder to use discernment of how much of what I'm feeling is mine. Yeah, I could use that one today. Lovely, timely. A question from Marion. Are the current fires part of the clearing in Europe? Yes, this is Raphael. The short answer is yes, but we'd like to speak a little bit of this. Fire, as we'd said last year, is a tremendous clearing force, and it has a lightning kind of grace to it in the sense that it's fast and sharp. So instead of, again, the slow transformation, when there are pockets of energies that are toxic, a fire can clear and transform that energy in a physical sense quite quickly. So although buildings are destroyed, yes, there can be damage to the natural world as well. Overall, energetically, fire typically, and in this case it is as well, brings more positive than negative. It's thought of often as a destructor, but in this case we'd encourage you to think of it as a sharp tool of cleansing, like a lightning, a strike, a sharp light. So like a scalpel, if it was surgery instead of chemotherapy. So it's sharp, it's pointed, it's fast, and typically more reliable. This fire as a tool for transformation. So you can just have your prayers be with those who are disrupted by this, that, let all of their angels and dear ones be there to help them when they need it. And otherwise, if you can take the overview that it's quite transformative, much like California last year, there are some things here that could have taken decades to clear that are now gone, they're done. So it's been quite positive. And that's why the pattern looks a little weird. And if you study fire, or fire migration, this one, it doesn't really make sense. So that's why it's targeted for specific energetic places. It's not so much about the winds and the fuel sources and things like that. A question from Sarah. What is the significance of the new photos from space? This is Raphael. There's a little bit of distortion here, but not human error, and it's not a hoax. But if you had your fingerprint or a little smudge on the lens when you took a picture, so it's not exactly accurate, we'd say this is a clue. It's a big one, but it's not precise yet. It will come through a little more clear what this is. It's good news. It's good news, but don't take it so literal visually. Understand there's a little smudge, there's a little distortion there in the image itself. Good. Thank you for your questions. Feels like time to move on to what the angels want to bring us into energetically. So if you want to sit maybe with your feet flat on the floor or cross-legged, however your meditative posture is for allowing the energy to be received here, to flow through you. This is Raphael, Angel Raphael. In the heart of hearts, which we have called the void space, is also your creator space within you. We want to welcome here the feeling of tremendous celebration. So tune into that part of you that feels, finally I get to create. So within the heart of hearts of you, beyond the layers of personality and doubt, at the heart of hearts of you, there is a deep celebration. Finally, I get to create. And we're not talking here about paintings necessarily or creative arts, but the creation of the imprint of your thought onto your world. In my heart of hearts, I celebrate that I can create now, that I can join in the collective creative potential, that I am at this turning of the tide of humanity, where we come back into the power of us, the power of we, the power of me. So creations that are solo, unique, or intertwined. In the heart of hearts, there is a tremendous place of celebration around it's time. It's time to have the extraordinary right now. Good. So we want to leave you with that, and perhaps as you're integrating from this call today, write down 3 things that your heart of hearts wants to create, big or small, impossible or tall, whatever they are. Just write that down as you're in this place of celebration. Finally, you get to create this. What are those things, those 3 things that come up first? And then rest in that celebration, like that cup of tea while you're reading the best part of your favorite book, or that time in the movie when the crescendo music comes and it's finally the hero gets to have their wish, their way. the climax of the story. You're coming into that, a moment like that. So write down those 3 things of what that is for your story or movie. If you like encouragement here, watch any of those Matrix movies. There's something very real there. We don't mean that you need to make the analogies, necessarily the denser analogies of the politics or the darker forces. All of that's done largely. But the piece around your creative potential in your life is quite real. So if you need a reminder of that, and if not, just celebrate in the heart of hearts here. It's time, it's your time. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for joining today, and I can't wait to hear about all of our stories. I'm excited for us. Yeah. A practical thing, and I'll put it in the chat, maybe after the broadcast stream ends here, or I'll put a link on my homepage on the website. But there's a sale, 1-week sale for individual sessions. So I do this usually once a year in July or August. Do a big sale. So it's 1/3 off any sessions with me. You can buy the certificate and use it up to a year from now, so you don't have to necessarily want a session right away, but if you think you will in the next few months, you can get it at a good deep discount. And that's in the email too, if you're on my email list. So enjoy, celebrate, and thank you. Thank you for being. So much love to you.